Hello, everyone. This is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today, we are exploring the evolution of purchasing power. In 2026, the traditional e commerce model is being disrupted by a new category: crowd purchasing. It's a shift that turns individual wants into collective wins, making high demand experiences accessible to everyone. Joining us today is Joe Rubini, the founder of Razzall Inc. and the Rally Group of companies. Joe is a seasoned entrepreneur who built a multi-million dollar logistics empire before pivoting to, revolutionizing the digital marketplace. Today he's here to share his journey from moving freight to moving a community and how Razzle is blending commerce with entertainment. So before further ado, let's welcome this very special guest. Joe, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, Kipra. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Joe, you've moved from the highly structured world of logistics into a brand new e commerce category that focuses on collective buying power. Let's start the conversation by understanding what is Razal and how does crowd purchasing differ from the traditional e commerce models out there? Go ahead.
Sure. So Razzall was founded grassroots because certain things in the sports collectible community were happening in the form of Razzes. We felt that this was something that we can take mainstream and allow
Mhm.
everybody to be able to participate. What Razzle does is we're an e-marketplace, which allows people to collectively or sell items on our website. However, collectively, our community will jump in and buy what we call spots or shares in an item. As an example, we're filming this right around the World Cup event starting, and there's been a high demand for World Cup tickets. So essentially, tickets are being fractioned off where people are participating and buying the item. Once that item completely fills and the seller gets their asking price, that list of participants is then randomized through a third party, and one person takes ownership of the item. Now we've done that with electronics, with other commercial goods, event tickets, and many other things.
It's very interesting. I think turning high demand items into a community driven achievement, it completely redefines how we think about accessibility, in the modern market. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Now let's explore how trust and that buy and drive adoption of a disruptive new platform. So Joe, how did you build trust and educate users on this new model? Because doing something is one thing, but getting it across, the messaging, the everything. So, what's your secret sauce?
Well, that is still our struggle because the truth is that people see something new, and especially with AI nowadays and social media, you get
Right.
probably ads popping up on on your social media all the time with things that are too good to be true, and you don't believe it. I personally will go to the website before I click on a link on Instagram just to see if something is legit and do a quick review. With regards to Razal, we continually build the trust by having our membership and people that were selected for these items to tell their community of friends so that they realize that it is happening. We also try to get as many testimonials from a lot of our participants. Some are willingly participate in helping us with their testimonial. Some would rather not be in front of a camera or on a website for anybody, and we respect people's privacy. This isn't Razzall is not built as a gaming or a lottery platform where we require people to give us names and allow their photo and all of that. We
Mhm.
everything is done confidentially, and we use nicknames. People don't know who end users are who might
Mhm.
receive luxury items, and then they participate in it. The trust element has always been something that we've been working on, but the truth is that a short time ago we had a few thousand members on our site. Now we've got over 20, and
Wow.
there are hundreds of people signing up every single day because they're hearing from friends, and that, to be honest, is the best way for us to advertise and gain trust. Is obviously like any other company to have a friend tell them. So that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to line ourselves up with, say, influencers and stuff like that, where there is a built trust.
No, I think this word of mouth model, I think this works perfectly well, specifically when we're talking about trust. Because if you're getting that referral from someone that we trust, we automatically trust the source as well, right? And what you said, prioritizing transparency, from day one, I think it's clearly the only way to turn a skeptical visitor into a loyal participating member of the platform. So that's amazing. Now, let's discuss how your logistics background shaped your approach to building scalable tech. So, the question to you is, Joe, did you always wanted to become an entrepreneur, or is it something that you stumbled upon in your career? And also, you come from a logistics background, right? So, what mindset shift helped you move from logistics to tech?
Quite honestly, it's just about who I am. I've never been opposed to doing anything. When I graduated from high school, my intention was to get into retail or get into a trade. I quickly realized that retail was not going to be the thing for me because it wasn't consistent with regards to salaries or where I could be and everything else.
Right.
I ended up going to college and getting a marketing diploma on that, and then just kind of fell into the logistics business. And I was successful in it for 16 years. I worked for someone 18 years ago. I ventured out with my partner to open up our own logistics company, and we haven't looked back. We've got over 20 employees. We do tens of millions of dollars in sales. We have great partners. I'm proud to say that many of our clients and customer base are people that we have dealt with since day one. So for 18 years, we've built that trust, similar to what we do with Razzall. It's just that in this case, it's a little more personal because we have people on the phone, we can see people. In an
Yeah.
e-commerce, people don't really know who the name is, who the face is. So the truth is if anybody searches my name, Joe Rubini, on a Google, they're going to get a ton of stuff about me. They're going to get podcasts, they're going to get some news articles, they're going to get all kinds of stuff to show that I'm a real person and we really exist. Using the Rally business as the Rally Business has helped me with regards to financing this other project. As far as understanding tech, quite honestly, I've had to kind of learn on my way. I've surrounded myself with the right people, the people that know more than me about it, and
Mhm.
essentially, I overlook things. I try to think of good ideas. I Biggest strength is for me to think outside the box and understand things and maybe give new perspective to things. A lot of people get stuck in the same mundane way of seeing things and they've got blinders on. And
Mhm.
sometimes having someone that is completely out of the space, all of a sudden, um, it gives you fresh eyes to be able to see it. Because the reality is, I can look at it from a consumer perspective and say, what is it that I want in what I'm going after? And then
Right.
I'll use that information as though I'm on the other side and say, okay, this is what we need to do now to be able to build this.
Wow, that's a very powerful way of, training your own mind to think about things. And that's amazing. I often, end up doing these things myself as well, because perception and perspective can change the entire trajectory of where one is going. And with what you've said, Joe, I'd like to give a special message to all the listeners right now, specifically to all the entrepreneurs who are listening and watching this. In 2026, your background is your greatest advantage, not a limitation. If you can solve a problem in logistics, you can solve a problem in e-commerce as well. Joe didn't wait to become a tech guy to launch Razal. He used his first hand experience with fragmented markets to build a solution. So, if you see a gap in how people access what they want, don't wait for permission to bridge it. Use your unique perspective to create a category that didn't exist yesterday. So, coming back to you now, Joe. Category creation is something very few people are able to do. So, kudos to you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'd now like to touch upon how Razal is expanding premium experiences across North America. So, how are partnerships helping you scale Razal's experiences?
Essentially, we are looking for sellers, and we're hoping that sellers that have good networks of people will be able to help draw other consumers into our membership fold. We offer we don't offer any particular incentive outside of the fact that we're able to tell sellers that they can maximize profitability on a lot of their items because collectively the argument has always been I want to own this thing that's worth $1,000, but I only have a demographic of 1% that can afford $1,000 on this item. Well, Razzall enters the picture and says, that's fine. I got you covered with the other 99% of the demographic who can't afford 1,000, but they can afford $10. So now we find 100 of those people with that are willing to give up, spend $10 to potentially get that $1,000 item. We've done it with some famous singers. Taylor Swift, you're from Toronto. Taylor Swift tickets were stupid. They were $5,000 to $10,000 for a pair of tickets. We sent 88 people to Taylor Swift concerts, all for a few $100s at max. Each
Wow.
spot was worth maybe $50. There's all kinds of different opportunities like this for people to be able to participate and potentially get the things that they want that they otherwise were out of reach. And that's the beauty of Razzall. Sometimes when I make those phone calls, on occasion, I'll call somebody for an item that a seller might be selling, and I'll
Yeah.
call them to congratulate them on being chosen. And the feedback that I get of, you guys are so great. If it wasn't for you, I would have never been able to participate in this. I would have never been
Oh,
able to go to this concert. This is my dream. I had one lady that was she said, I've been sitting outside the parking lot of Budweiser stage listening to the concerts, and now I'm finally going to go in. So it's that kind of stuff that makes you feel good knowing that you helped facilitate that. But listen, it's not just me. I'm just a medium to do that. The reality is our community, our membership collectively helps other people's dreams come true. They may not have been chosen this time, but their opportunity may come up eventually.
I loved how beautifully you've articulated it because, when people randomly tell that about your business, that how it has made a difference in their lives, it's a beautiful moment. It's a full circle kind of a moment, right? And witnessing people access dream experiences they couldn't reach alone, it's a powerful validation of the crowd purchasing model. So that's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to touch upon now the future of community commerce. So, imagine if I were to give you a time machine right now and we were to go 5 or 10 years into the future. When you get out of the time machine, Joe, how exactly do you envision this community driven commerce experience, shaping e commerce in the next 5 to 10 years?
I want Razzall to have a seat at the table. And quite honestly, entrepreneurship has its challenges.
Yeah.
When we first launched this, well, we didn't launch 8 years ago, but development started about 8 years ago. I'll tell you, if you were to ask me 8 years ago where I would be today, I would have probably been a billionaire sitting on a beach. The reality is, it's just the opposite. I've put a lot of money into this, blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm still waiting for the fruit of what I've done. However, if you ask me now, we are gaining much more momentum. And because of the multiplier effect, going from one member to 10 members is hard. But it happens. But 10 members doesn't satisfy your requirements to run a business.
Yeah.
But when you start talking 20,000 members and they all tell a couple of friends, now we're up to 60,000. And those numbers will hopefully continue to multiply because others will tell others. In 5 years, I think that Razzall has the potential to have a seat at the table with the likes of eBay, with the likes of Amazon, hopefully to have fulfillment availability and stuff like that. But look, we're not there yet. That is a dream, but I think that if we partner with the right companies, and we potentially look at, maybe RTOs or anything like that, where, somebody bigger comes along and says, you know what, we're doing it this way, but this might be a great idea, and we can tap into their market and their demographic, it gives them another branch to be able to move product.
I love how you're, putting it all together because I can see genuinely how passionate you are for what you are doing. And this platform that you have created, it's revolutionary, right? So it's only time when, it goes viral. So till that viral moment comes, we are here for you in this journey with you, rooting for you and knowing that, we're going to make it out and come out bigger and better than everyone else who is in this industry right now. So I'm loving this conversation, Joe, and definitely we'd love for you to be back, hopefully for an in-person conversation that we do the next time. But for now, today, before we let you go, if there's one final piece of advice that you have for our listeners today, specifically for founders with disruptive ideas that people may not understand, right? If you could whisper one thing into their ears, what would you say and why?
I've been told some negative things from people that are in business because of Razzall and the amount of time that it's taken me to get to where I was. Um, and I will say this, if I could go back and fix everything, there are a few things that I would have done. But if I'm going to say one thing for sure, because we raised a significant amount of money in the beginning when we started Razzall, and we ripped through it really, really quickly. So if you are a founder and you have an idea and you think it's a great idea, listen to what others have to say. If everybody tells you it's a good idea, but you got to get honest opinions. If everybody, they're not, you don't want somebody, you don't want your mom or your best friend who's just going to tell you what you want to hear. You
Yeah.
want to know the truth. What do you think of this idea? And I'm going to tell you that I've had less than probably a handful of people tell me that it's not for them, but they've never said it was a bad idea. That's your first step. Know that it is truly is a good idea. Don't think that you have the best idea without checking with others, because you end up going in a little blind, and you don't really know the truth. The other part of it is know what your cutoff is and save
Mm.
money. The reality is if you think that you're going to be able to start something and just start throwing money around, which is quite honestly what we did in our first few years, we started throwing money around thinking that if we spend this much money on advertising or promotion or going to
Right.
this trade show, that the business is just going to come. It didn't. Um, Bootstrap as best as you can, um, get good relationships and grind and just, keep talking to people, get introductions, meet people, network, because you don't know who that next person is that you might find that's going to help you along. But know when to cut it off.
Indeed, a great reminder that the best businesses are often born from the courage to simplify a complex frustration and to just begin, right? Joe, it was such a pleasure having this conversation with you. You've left me, I'm in complete awe. You've inspired me, and I'm sure all of our listeners as well. So, thank you so much for being here and doing this with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being with you.
All right, that was Joe Rubini from Razzall Inc., a masterclass in how to transition across industries and use collective buying power to unlock premium experiences for everyone. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more such resources. A very special thank you to our partners, UPS, our shipping partner, and ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada. To understand what we are doing for the SME community beyond the platforms, please go ahead and visit the Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. I'll see you all in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.